Welcome to the Pair Affair today. And today's story is don't insult the things you wish you could have. Anyone out there guilty of this? Is anyone out there who wish they could have something, but they insult it? And we'll explain more as we get into our story. One afternoon, a fox was walking through the forest and spotted a bunch of grapes hanging from a branch. The fox thought to himself, just a thing to quench my thirst, he thought. Taking a couple steps back, the fox jumped and just missed the hanging grapes. The fox tried again, but still failed to reach them. Finally, Fox gave up, turned his nose up and said, they're probably sour anyway, and walked away. How many times have we walked away from a situation and we turned our nose up at the situation because we said, it's not worth my time. It's probably bad for me anyway. That's why I didn't get it anyway. I didn't get it because, it wasn't for me. It just didn't work out. Just wasn't for me. But as you look at our story, he tried, but he didn't try a different way. He tried the way he thought was the best way to get it, the quickest way, but he didn't really put in too much thought behind it. Kind of gave up, walked away. How many of us have walked away from a situation where we tried a few times, but we never gave it a really good effort? You know what I mean? A good effort is the effort is going to exhaust you. It's going to take you to another level where when you get the reward, you're like, you know what? I earned it. I really, really earned it. I deserve these grapes. I'm going to, as I eat these grapes, I'm going to eat them slowly. I'm just going to really just enjoy each and every part of this grape. But how many of us have been so close to getting something and we turned away from it and we turned away from it? We put our nose up and said, no, they're lucky. This morning, as I was getting ready, one of the things that I do is I looked at, over the weekend, the YouTube results come in and they say how many views you have, what do you have, who's subscribed. And I looked at it and I said, wow, it's getting better. But then there's a part of me said, well, maybe you should just give up. It's not growing as fast as it should grow. Maybe you're doing something different. And then I said, well, it's better than it was last week. I said, well, try something different this week. And then I told myself, I said, well, I put my nose up and said, well, it's not worth it anyway. Who's listening? Do they really care? Or they're probably just making fun of you anyway. And I said, well, you're doing the same thing this fox is doing. As you started, you wanted something, but now it's not going your way. You're going to put your nose up at it. And it's like, well, it's not worth it. But then that motivated me. That motivated me to say, you know what? It's going to work. Because the thing is, I love the fact that when people say that you can't do something, that just fires me up more. When people say, oh yeah, he recorded last week, but I know I'll look for him today and he won't record. He's got other things to do. It's just like that fox. And I use that fox in an example. You tried the first time, you tried the second time, then you say, well, it's probably sour anyway. Well, this recording I'm going to do today, it won't help anybody. Oh yes, it will. If it just helps one or two people out there of not giving up, who are so close to giving up right now out there. Don't be like this fox. Things don't work out. Don't be like this fox and just put your nose up and say, well, you know what? It wasn't for me anyway. And as I live in a city where I see a lot of, we have a lot of, in the city I live in, they have a lot of high-end cars. We have a lot of high-end cars that are flying around on our freeways and just, and you're sitting there and you're looking at these cars and you're like, well, I want that car. I want that car. And then there's a part of you in your brain that says, well, you know what? It's just for your ego. It's for them. People who have egos need those kind of cars. So I'm putting my nose up at those people. But I have to realize, don't worry about what they're driving. Don't worry about what they're doing. If they're happy in that luxury car going down the freeway, that's fine. That's fine with me. I don't care. Whatever makes you feel good about going to that job and you paying for it, that's fine. But just because you don't have it Just because you don't have it, you don't need to put your little, your little spin on it. And I was in Hawaii a couple years ago. As usual, you're touring the area, you're looking around, and we saw this big beautiful house on the side of a hill. Saw this big beautiful house on the side of this hill, and you always think, who gets to live in that house? Who gets to live in that house? And I think my wife and I were looking at it, and she's like, wow, who gets to live there? And then I think somebody in the back heard our conversation, and someone probably, I think the person in the back says, oh, they're probably not happy anyway. You see, it's going to probably fall off the hill anyway. And I'm like, wow, it's a beautiful house. Why would you think something like that? Because people think like that. Just because you have something, there's always going to be someone who is going to try to pull you back down. Because that's just human nature. That's just human nature. You're going to pull you back down. Because we, for some reason or another, if it could be a group of people or it could be ourselves. And we have to figure out what's best for us. Are you going to be that person that goes around and just pulls people down? Or are you going to be that person who's going to lift people up, make them feel good about themselves? Because I see that a lot. And today, as I walked into work, I heard this conversation between these two people. And it was rather loud. And it wasn't a nice conversation. And it's the beginning of the week. And I'm like, wow, what a way to start your week. What a way to start your week. Instead of encouraging that person to have a great week, it was like, oh, let me pull this person down because they're too happy on Monday. They're too happy on Tuesday or Wednesday, Thursday or Friday. Let me pull them down. And as we want things in life, and as we go for things in life, and if we don't get them, you keep trying to get them. You keep trying. You stay after it. You don't just give up after the first couple times. You have to stay after it, and you have to want it more than the next person. And I'm thinking about all the things that I tried, and I was so close, but then I turned my back on it because certain things were, just didn't line up right. And I'm thinking, and I heard this person, he said this. He said, a lot of times the worst thing that you can have in life and carry around with you the rest of your life is regret. He says, if you ever go to a senior citizen's home or you go talk to people who are older, he says, one thing they're going to always talk about is regret. They wish they would have did this differently. They wish they would have did that. You don't want to be that way. You don't want to leave anything out there and say, I wish I did this. I wish I would have did that. And to be honest with you, as I try to do more and more, I don't want to leave any regret. I want to say if after things are done and said, and I'm happy where I am, I don't want to look back and say, you know what? I wish I would have tried that. I wish I would have tried that because, sitting around talking about it is not going to get it done. You got to put some action behind it. And it's easy to sit there and talk yourself out of doing something. But sometimes you when you talk yourself into it, you got to put the work in. You actually have to put the work in. And not everybody's willing to put the work in. Not everyone's willing to put a whole bunch of work into getting that house on the hill or getting that house by the beach or getting a relationship back where it should be. Because it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work. And anything that's worth it, you're going to have to put the time in. You just can't just say, oh, well, it didn't work out. I knew that person was a bad person for me. But obviously something was attracting you to that person or whatever. If you're happy with that person, if that's the person you want in your life, go for it. Don't give up after the second time, but don't, when it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen, but don't just keep giving up. And I see a lot of this, people just giving up without even breaking a sweat. And how do you say that? Without breaking a sweat. A lot of people I see that they start something, but they never finish. And that's one thing my parents have always told us. They have always told us when we were young. And we always, whatever you start, you need to finish. If you start on this sports program, you're going to finish the whole year. If you start in the band, you're going to finish with the band. Now, you may not play, as we played in middle school, we played in the band. And that's okay. Well, we started in 6th grade. I want to get out after 6th grade. No. You're not getting out. You're going to go all the way to 8th grade and finish the band. And after 8th grade, if you don't want to do it, that's fine. But we don't want you to start stuff and start quitting stuff. Once you start doing that, you start building a pattern. Just like that fox, he tried 2 times, couldn't get it. And he said, it's probably sour anyway. And sometimes, even though you may be by yourself, you have other people who are going to tell you that, you know what, that's not good for you. Yesterday, I was scrolling through the internet and this person was talking about podcasts. This person talking about the best way to get your podcast out there. He's a so-called expert. And he said, well, if you do it this way, you're really not looked at as a true podcast person. You look down. And I'm thinking, wow, what gives you the right to put your nose up at people and say, well, if you do it this way and that way. And then I say, well, maybe because I'm doing it that way. I said, well, maybe he's right. I should be doing it a different way. And I took the advice, but I really didn't listen to it. I said, you do what's best for you. You do what's going to make you happy. Maybe something happened to this person, so he's trying to influence you not to do it your way. And I heard this story before, and it's about these two farmers. And one was, they were out there looking at their fields one day, and they had fields right by each other. And one farmer told the other farmer, oh my gosh, I am so glad that the sun is out. It's going to really help our crops. And I just can't wait to harvest these crops in the next few months. The other farmer said, well, it's so sun's out so much that if it keeps being this way, it's going to bake our crops and we won't have anything. So then they went about their way. The next day they met up and it was raining that day. And the farmer says, wow, I'm so glad that we have this water to help our crops grow. He said, and the other farmer says, we don't need all this rain. He said, well, all this rain's going to wash everything away. And we won't have anything to harvest in a few months. I wish this rain would stop. So they went about their way. And so the next day he called the guy on the phone and said, hey, you know what? I got this new dog. And I really want, I don't want to deal with I need a day to go bird hunting. And I got this new dog and I want to show you this new dog. And he said, all right. And so they met up at their little pond. And they got in the boat, put the dog in the boat. And the farmer looked at the farmer's dog. He didn't look much like a really great dog or anything. Just, whatever. Well, I don't know why you want to show me this dog. It looks like any ordinary dog. But the first farmer got out there and saw the birds come across the pond, pulled out a shotgun, and bam, shot the bird. Bird fell in the water. Dog jumped out of the boat. Dog just ran across the water, right on top of the water, ran on top of the water. Picked the bird up off the water, came back, still on top of the water, jumped in the boat. The farmer looked at the other farmer and said, hey, what do you think about that? The other farmer says, wow, I should have known. Dog can't even swim. So anytime you do something, people will put their nose up to you, just like that farmer. Dog walking across the water. And he's like, wow, dog can't even swim. So as we go and as we talk about things that are important to us, make sure as you go out there today and you go out there in your life or not today or whenever you use this, if you see something and it may be out of your range just yet, use that word. Not just, I will get that. Not today, but I'm going to get it eventually. If it's a problem that's consuming you, I'll solve the problem, but I'm not going to give up. Because a lot of times we want to give up too easy. We want to give it a few days. We want to try this for a few days. We want to try this diet for a few days. We want to try to exercise for a few days. And then we don't see the results. And then we give up so soon. And imagine if you just stay after it. You stay after it. Because there's going to be some friction anytime you do something, you're going to have to make some sacrifices. And a lot of times we don't want to make sacrifices because we've been built on immediate gratification. And we don't want to put the time in. We don't want to sit, study. We want everything to be perfect for us. But it's not. I wish I could tell you that everything that I touch turned to gold, and it doesn't. And I just wanted to the thing that you have to do, and I keep saying this over and over again, and this is something I have to do, is you got to want it more than the next person. And the thing is, I always told myself, I may not be the person that gets it the fastest, but eventually I will get there. I'm not worried about being the first one, being the best one. I'm thinking about being consistent every day. And it's my goals. And I realize as I'm going through these projects, I have to be persistent and consistent every day. And eventually you'll attain those goals. But if you're just one day you try it, doesn't work out. Next day you try it, doesn't work out. Oh, one day it does. Oh, you get close, but you say it's okay. But you got to keep pushing yourself. You got to keep pushing yourself. And to be honest with you, sometimes you need to take a break away from things. And what happens is we take a break. And in that break, instead of building yourself up and telling yourself positive, during that break, a lot of times we tell ourselves negative things. So as you take your break today, and as you take your break away from certain things, say 3 or 4 positive things to yourself about accomplishing your goal. And it's okay to have that one negative thought, but don't have 15 negative thoughts and one positive thought. That's just too much. Write those positive thoughts down. Stick them on sticky note. Pump yourself up. It's okay. It's okay. You'll be all right. But you got to stay after it. Don't just try something 2 days, 2 months, 2 years, and then give up. If it's something that you want to do and you're passionate about it, don't listen to the naysayers. Don't listen to the people that tried for 2 days and gave up. So, well, if I can't do it, you can't do it either. You're different from that person. So as we end today, I want to thank you again for coming in and listening to us and all the wonderful feedback we've been receiving from the audience members out there. As we continue to push and get better, getting me better, getting you better, we want to thank you again and continue to challenge yourself, be bold what you do, and don't accept no as an answer. All right. We'll see you on the next one. And thanks again. Bye-bye.